Tonight, tragedy in Tumbler Ridge. A 51-unit apartment building burns to the ground. Silence broken. Shots fired in Saturday in Dawson Creek. And structures lost. 7 abandoned buildings burned in Kelly Lake. Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with residents forced from their home in Tumbler Ridge this weekend after an apartment fire Saturday burning the Spiker apartment buildings to the ground.
Get out of the building!
It happened just before 6 on Saturday night. The building contained 51 units and is now completely destroyed. An emergency support service center was set up to assist those who've lost their homes. The Dawson Creek Fire Department, along with the Kanuma Resource Mine Rescue Team, also on scene. Crews were still at the fire on Monday, putting out hotspots. Now, the cause of the fire remains under investigation. What had turned into a period of relative calm lately in Dawson Creek has been shattered by gunfire over the weekend. A witness telling CJDC-TV News they were out for a walk Saturday evening when they heard a gunshot and saw smoke appear from a weapon. 2 cars were parked in the driveway of this house on 91A Avenue. At least 1 shot was fired, breaking the glass of one of the vehicles. Nobody has been reported injured so far, but the house is known to police. Neighbors saying people living there are renters and vehicles come and go at all hours of the night. Sunday, police were seen securing the property until they could get a search warrant. No word on who may have been involved in the shooting. Well, the Kiskatinaw River wildfire continues to burn out of control near Kelly Lake. An expected cold front Sunday at around 5, whipping up winds and fire behavior with it. The fire is still spotting into Kelly Lake. Fire protection specialists are still on the scene around the clock, putting out hotspots. Now, approximately 7 structures have been lost to the fire. They're abandoned homes, trailers, and outbuildings. However, no occupied residents have been lost. A second flank, the southeast side of the fire, has now made it into Alberta as well. The north flank showed aggressive fire growth in the county of Grand Prairie this weekend. The fire has grown to 21,675 hectares. More evacuation orders and alerts issued today for the Pocket Knife Creek wildfire. It's now designated as a wildfire of note. The fire is burning out of control about 20 kilometers north of Buckinghorse River, and it's exploded in size to just over 60,000 hectares after merging with another fire. The Alaska Highway was closed on Sunday. It reopened to traffic, but is closed once again in both directions on Monday. The evacuation order is for the corridor of the highway from north of Sekani Chief to south of Buckinghorse River. An alert has also been issued for an area northwest of Trutch. Getting to the fire has been proving difficult. Helicopters and air tankers are fighting the blaze from above. 70 firefighters and structure protection specialists are currently at the scene. It's being described as a highly vigorous surface fire. The fire has been displaying rank 4 and 5 fire behavior. It was discovered back on May the 17th and was brought under control on May the 27th, but due to hot temperatures and high winds, the fire started burning out of control once again a week and a half ago. West of Fort Nelson, the Alaska Highway also remains closed due to the Summit Lake wildfire. The highway is closed from kilometer 485 to kilometer 648 as the BC Wildfire Service continues their dangerous tree assessment. Now, evacuation order has been issued for the Tetsa River area for the Alaska Highway corridor. The Summit Lake wildfire has now grown to 10,666 hectares in size. It's also one of 3 wildfires of note burning in BC. Now, it's burning out of control on both sides of the highway, 10 kilometers northeast of Summit Lake. The Northern Rockies Regional Municipality says the order was issued due to the forecasted weather over the coming days. The evacuation order has been issued for the area between Summit Lake Campground and Steamboat Mountain Brake Check along the Alaska Highway. The highway, as we said, is once again closed due to increased fire behavior. Motorists are being urged to check Drive BC for driving conditions and highway closures. Well, some good news tonight. The Sundance Lake wildfire burning east of Chetwynd is now being held. This is video of a helicopter loading its bucket in the lake. Last week, the Peace River Regional District issuing an evacuation alert. That alert is still in place. The fire is 60 hectares in size and is burning 13 kilometers from Chetwynd. It was discovered Wednesday night and is thought to be human-caused. And the province providing a wildfire forecast for the province today. A low snowpack along with a lack of rain for the past 2 years is making for a busier than normal wildfire season. So far, 2/3 of the snowpack is already melted. While it does lessen the risk of flooding in northeast BC, it's contributing to an increase in fire behavior. With 330,000 hectares already burned this year, the Prince George Fire Zone has already seen enough hectares burned for an average year. With no indication of rain in the forecast and a dangerously low snowpack, the province says it's preparing for the worst.
The current conditions, on top of the ongoing drought and the overwintering fires in the northeast corner of British Columbia, is setting us up for an increase in wildfire activity over the next few weeks as we enter the core of the wildfire season.
Over 80 wildfires are currently burning across British Columbia. 70% of those are thought to be human-caused. A raging wildfire on Vancouver Island has also grown, burning at approximately 24 hectares since it was first discovered yesterday. Well, in other news tonight, the emergency room at the Chetwynd Hospital on diversion for the whole weekend. Northern Health saying the ER closed Saturday morning at 8. It didn't reopen until 48 hours later on Monday morning. Once again, the health authority saying it was due to a staffing shortage. However, they're no longer specifying whether it's a shortage of doctors or nurses. Now, despite saying for the past 4 years they're working to solve the problem, the emergency room vacancy rate for nurses is still at 29%. An emergency room doctor in the Lower Mainland has filed a lawsuit against Fraser Health over allegations of unsafe working conditions and bullying and harassment. Dr. Caitlin Stockton works ER shifts at the Royal Columbian and Eagle Ridge hospitals. In her statement of claim, she says there are not enough trained security staff who can deal with patients who become violent. She also accuses hospital administrators of singling her out and threatening disciplinary action when she spoke up about the issues. Stockton cites several examples, including one about a patient threatening staff with a machete, and she mentions another instance where a doctor was bitten by a pit bull in the waiting room at Eagle Ridge Hospital. Fraser Health has not yet filed a response to the statement of claim. The allegations have yet to be tested in a court of law. Well, the Prime Minister is engaging with the premiers on big projects of national interest that could include a new West Coast pipeline. And as CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is set on convincing BC Premier David Eby to get on board.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith isn't backing off her pitch for a new pipeline.
There's some things that we need to do to address some of the objections, but I think that the Team Canada spirit's going to prevail in the end.
Smith told the Prime Minister a new pipeline was the top priority for her province. Alberta hasn't named any potential projects yet, but Prairie Premiers are pitching an energy corridor between Churchill, Manitoba in the Hudson Bay, Alberta's oil sands, and west to BC's north coast around Prince Rupert. The objection is to the western portion. BC's Premier has been clear as recently as last week he's not on board.
Her vision for a North Coast pipeline is many, many years off, and there's no proponent at this point.
Pushback Danielle Smith doesn't appear worried about.
I'm saying that I'm going to convince David Eby of it because I know that this is good for the country. I know that he's on Team Canada, and I can't imagine in the end that if we meet the issues that have been raised by British Columbia, that he would go off Team Canada.
The pipeline's route and buy-in from Indigenous communities are chief among concerns Alberta would have to address with BC. And industry experts say there would likely be other challenges too.
It would make a lot of sense to see that developed for Canada's national interest. Because we've had such a terrible experience developing projects over the last 10 years, there are no private sector proponents for this project.
The Prime Minister has been clear his government would not impose a project on any province that isn't in favor of it, and that a consensus would be required for any project to go ahead. Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Ottawa.
DHL Canada is reassuring customers amid a strike and a lockout of its workers that kicked off on Sunday. Unifor, which represents more than 2,100 workers across Canada, is accusing the company of deploying replacement workers. The German-owned carrier says it's rolled out what they're calling a contingency plan and does not anticipate any significant disruptions to service. Unifor says the bargaining priorities are improved working conditions, fair wages, and addressing issues of workplace surveillance and automation. This all comes with Canada Post workers refusing overtime and contract negotiations. And Canada's Competition Bureau says it's suing DoorDash. It's accusing the food delivery company of advertising misleading prices and discounts. The Bureau says customers were unable to make purchases at the advertised price because of mandatory fees were added at checkout. DoorDash is being sued for deceptive price and discount advertising. The Bureau is seeking a penalty and wants the company to offer restitution to its customers. Closing arguments have begun in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada World's junior hockey team. The defense teams for Michael McLeod, Dylan Dubé, Alex Formenton, Carter Hart, and Cal Foote all making their closing arguments first, followed by the Crown closing arguments. They're expected to take several days. All 5 players have pled not guilty to sexually assaulting a woman in June of 2018 in a hotel in London, Ontario. Well, a major announcement on defense spending and a huge boost to Canada's military. Prime Minister Mark Carney saying Canada will hit a target of 2% of GDP this fiscal year. Canada has been under pressure for years to increase its NATO spending, and there's even a push to raise the benchmark further. Mike LeCouture reports.
As the Prime Minister warned of a new imperialism threatening the world, Mark Carney says more military spending is needed to help protect Canada from multiplying threats.
Canada will achieve NATO's 2% of GDP target this year.
An ambitious announcement, considering during the election campaign, the Liberals promised to hit that mark in 5 years.
The nature of our alliance is changing, the expectations within those alliances, but also our expectation for what we need to do to protect Canada have shifted.
The expectation from the NATO alliance is also shifting. Today in London, Secretary General Mark Rutte asked for a 400% increase in air and missile defense, and he set a new spending target.
At the summit in The Hague, I expect allied leaders will agree to spend 5% of GDP on defense. It will be a NATO-wide commitment and a defining moment for the alliance.
Government numbers show Canada is spending 1.45% of GDP on defense. In the 2025-26 fiscal year, that figure was expected to be 1.71%. Adding $9 billion to the budget should hit the 2% target.
We will support additional money for our military. That's why we're calling on the government to bring in a budget, because all of this will require a budget.
While there is support for the new money, historically there has been a problem getting it out the door. Carney says a new procurement agency will help make that happen.
Canada spending 2% of GDP on defense is the Canadian government issue and not just something for the Department of National Defense and the Canadian Armed Forces to look after.
Now, Carney says getting to the spending target did not involve any creative accounting, even though senior government officials did say the expanded mandate of the Canadian Coast Guard will be folded into national defense. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
South of the border, the Pentagon is expected to deploy about 700 U.S. Marines to the city of Los Angeles. They're helping responding to immigration protests after tensions boiled over this weekend. CTV's Joy Melvin reports.
What began as peaceful protests in Los Angeles turned ugly this weekend as the Trump administration carried out military-style raids, rounding up undocumented immigrants. The president deployed the National Guard, an extraordinary move, California's governor said he never asked for, and is suing the administration that he says escalated tensions.
Where's your decency, Mr. President? Stop. Rescind this order. It's illegal and unconstitutional.
Police clashed with hundreds of protesters over the weekend as cars and trash cans were set on fire, throwing Molotov cocktails and projectiles at police. Demonstrators waving Mexican flags blocked Highway 101 in both directions for hours on Sunday. Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. An Australian reporter caught in the crossfire.
You just shut the
You okay?
She's okay, as the president defended sending in the National Guard.
People that are causing the problem are professional agitators, they're insurrectionists, They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
Trump said he'll arrest anyone obstructing the immigration raids. California's governor says, go ahead and try.
Arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn, but I care about my community.
Come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it would be a great thing.
As Donald Trump tests the power of his presidency, California's governor fired back, filing a legal challenge in the courts, calling the president's actions unlawful. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
All right, please do stay tuned. I'll have weather right after the break.